Thank you.
Great. Michelle.
Hello. I'm Michelle Carroll, Executive Director of ISSIP, and today we have with us Jim Spoor of our Board of Directors and co-founder of ISSIP, along with Jeremy VanPuffelen, President of Prism Logistics, who's going to be a panelist in the collaborative ISSIP PSU series exploring the transformation of industry, with the sector focus being supply chain management and logistics. Let me turn it over to you, Jim.
Great, thanks. And I'm just getting to know Jeremy. Michelle, thank you for introducing me to Jeremy. Jeremy, you've got a business there that's been growing, and you've got, I just love your description of how you started as a laborer working for your dad's company and how the company grew. And now the strategy you've got for doubling and the use of new capabilities really is exciting. And if you could maybe just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business, that would be great.
Sure. I'm Jeremy VanPuffelen. I am the president of Prism Logistics, as Michelle mentioned. We are a Northern California-based 3PL. So basically, we focus on warehousing and distribution transportation for manufacturers, primarily in the food, beverage, and CPG space. We have been around since 1993 when my father and his partner started the business. I joined them in 1996, and we've been working on growing the company ever since.
Fantastic. And as you got into the business, you talked about rail cars and sacks of flour, I think, and now it's quite different. And so could you maybe just take maybe a few snapshots of the both your changing role with the business as well as how you saw the business changing? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I wish man, I wish it would have been the way it is today when I started, but back in the day, and not that long ago, late 90s, when we were handling a lot of freight for our first clients, a lot of things were done in rail cars, floor loaded. So 100-pound sacks of flour materials just shotgun loaded onto the floor. Shotgun loaded means it's just thrown in there, stacked up as well as could be. And then we get to pull it off by hand, palletize it, wrap it. So a lot of manual labor in the process, a lot of movement of goods at the pallet level at that point in time once they were already in the building, shipping them back out. But we used to do a lot of things called rainbow runs where you're building pallets specifically for a bakery or someone. And so you're throwing all the pallets and building it to their spec with different items. So kind of like it is right now with, I guess, some of the e-com stuff, a lot of picking, but at a different level. A lot of it was still pallet movements at that point in time. We've definitely seen the evolution of movement of goods go from a lot of LTL and full truckload to a whole lot more parcel and piece picking, each picking, things of that nature over the last 10 or 15 years. Definitely seeing our systems grow with those things. So WMS for inventory accuracy, as we were discussing, we implemented that back in 2006. So we've been at it for a while where we utilize RF technology, allows us to scan everything in, scan everything out. So you've got a real-time process. And then on the backside, we developed our own portal so our customers can see all those transactions. Yeah, less than truckload would be LTL. So it's usually movement of goods in just a couple pallets. If I'm missing any of the acronyms, let me know. So LTL is less than truckload.
Yeah.
Truckload is TL, parcel, e-com. Those are usually small pick units.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we've seen them move along in the past few years, and with the RF technology and the visibility we've been able to provide our customers, it's just made things a whole lot more transparent. So they can sit there and watch us pick orders and stage orders, load them, do whatever they want. They can run activities, see inventories in real time. I think that was a good process for us to get going, and we're looking forward to developing a little bit more with new technologies, getting more into automation, AGVs, automated guided vehicles, so humanless forklifts essentially that can take a lot of the travel time out for our staff and let them focus on things like interaction with truck drivers and people. So their focus is there, and then we can take out some of the busy work with the automation.
Yeah, I think that's great how you think both about the technological improvements and advances that are coming, but you're also thinking about your people and their career growth trajectories. And I imagine successful businesses like yours that are doubling, are doing a good job of both that technology adoption and making sure you're taking care of your people. And as you look into the future, I'm just curious what you see. I know you had mentioned before that when you were talking to your father who founded the company, you talked about someday having a virtual warehouse. And how do you see all of this evolving? Could you describe where you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, at least for us, I can't speak for everybody, but we want to continue to be on the leading edge of technology. There's obviously a strain when it comes to investment and being a small family-owned operation. You've got to make sure you're finding that fine line of what's cost effective and also produces the right return as far as inventory accuracies or visibility, things that are going to benefit the client. And I think that we've got some great ideas to do that moving forward as automation continues to grow. I think that visibility portion that we were talking about, having video within the automation that allows customers to log on and be able to actually watch movement of goods, see their inventory. I think that's another pretty neat step we might be able to take here in the future. Just providing, again, that next level of transparency. We can always tell people what's going on and run reports for them. They can see the numbers, but if we can make it like they're sitting next to us in the warehouse watching these things happen, I think that just makes for a good relationship. Anytime we can build more transparency and give visibility to clients where they know exactly what we're doing at any point in time, I just think it creates a stronger bond.
Yeah. And one of the things the ISIP community, that Michelle and I are part of, we do have a fair number of students, and they're always interested in what are good careers. And, I think, maybe a lot of people didn't know about logistics and supply chain until COVID came along, and then everybody was hearing about, oh, supply chain disruption. What
Uh,
advice would you give students who would like to get involved in logistics and supply chains? Are there particular, you talked about people skills, I think that's important, but are there other skills that you think students might want to focus on?
Yeah, it's I've got a son that just graduated Boise State and he's coming to work for us. And so I would probably give any young person wanting to get into the industry the same advice as I would give him. Um, don't be afraid to start at the bottom and grind it out. I understand folks are coming out with degrees and there's people want to get placed in a certain area. Sometimes it's really hard to understand how to do Z unless you've already gone from
Yep.
A through X, right? Or A through Y. So I think just learning the business, understanding the business from the ground up. I feel that I had that benefit and mentorship from people that were willing to let me learn from the ground up and teach me. And they kept me moving. But I think that's important. I think just understanding the overall industry, how the effect of a forklift operator and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis affects pricing, affects how your customers see you, whether that's things, again, dealing with damage or uh, issues around inventory maybe not being correct. All those things happen on the floor. If you haven't been through that part of the process, then it's hard to relate to customers when they're seeking answers around those things, or solutions around those things. So I think any part of the industry is great to get into. Some are probably a little bit more glamorous than others, but I definitely think that understanding it from the bottom up and spending a little bit of time there is very helpful. And I'm
I
not saying
totally.
get stuck. It doesn't need to be the 20 years I put in, growing, but it's definitely good to understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that depth of knowledge in any area, being able to do all the jobs. Um, One of the ISIP meetings that we have next Wednesday is on hospitality, and one of our experts, she's actually a professor now of hospitality and tourism in Australia, but she grew up with her family business, a luxury resort hotel in the Greek islands. So she said, "I've done every single job there is in a hotel, and now I can teach it as a professor." So I think that's great advice to learn all the roles and the jobs when you have that opportunity and not be afraid to do that. And IBM, when I worked there, we always talked, my mentors talked about rotate into the different business units so you get a full understanding of the business. And that's going to propel you up in your career if you can integrate it all and see benefits that come out of that. So I think that's great advice you gave, Jeremy. Maybe one last question. And then we'll wrap up this interview and I'll turn off the recording and we can discuss the upcoming panel. But when you look for, keeping up with trade information, is there like a magazine, or how do you stay current? How do you stay up to date on all this, Jeremy?
Sure. This might actually be a time for a shameless plug here. I don't know if you guys read DC Velocity, but page 31 of the October issue has a great article in there. It's actually just a quick Q&A, similar to this, but no, I think continued education in the process is extremely important. So I've been involved with the IWLA, which is the International Warehouse Logistics Association, for quite some time. Joined that board. Joined that board a few years ago in 2021, and then got nominated to the executive board and committee in 2023. So I'm on that board now. I've learned a lot. I mean, there's so much just from an interaction with peers and people within the network that you learn from, but their educational events, they have something for everybody, starting off from just getting into warehousing, learning how to put sales and marketing deals together, learning how to set up a warehouse, understanding the law behind what we do. There's a whole lot going on from an education standpoint. And then staying plugged in with things like CSCMP, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, another opportunity to continue your learning. They have great sessions, good networking. But finding a mentor as well. I talk about it, I think, frequently for myself. Find somebody who has been in the business for a little while, because even though you might go to some of the IWA, CSCMP, whatever organization you're going to be a part of and learn from, having a mentor who's already been through that to maybe help explain some of the stuff that you heard and might not understand is extremely helpful. So, and I also just think that that gives you the right way to say it. I think it might also give you the heart for being a mentor later on down the road if you've been someone who's been mentored by someone else, and it just reinstates those values of being able to give back. And so I think a few different avenues, definitely get involved. That's where I'm learning a lot, still learn a lot, but find that mentor as well.
That's a great answer, Jeremy. And now I'll do the shameless plug of ISSIP, because what we focus on is give, get, grow. And
All right.
we try to give the students an opportunity to volunteer for ISSIP and build their network of potential mentors by interacting with people from industries such as yourself. So we find people like you very inspiring. You've been your success in your business and just your attitude about, how you give back and look for leadership opportunities beyond your company is exactly the kind of role model we're looking for in ISSIP. So thank you for this opportunity to interview you. Any last words before I turn off the recording, Michelle or Jeremy?
One thought, just the connective tissue there at the end, that was so beautiful. I wanted to lift it up that Jeremy had said mentoring and the learning that he's done, that I learned a lot and continues to learn a lot. And Jim is always calling ISSIP, it's a learning organization. It's a community of lifelong learners. And I just wanted to toss that out because having seen some recent things about Prism and its collaborations, that's what their partners say about them, that they like the AGV project and this conduit pilot, that they love working with Prism because they'll let us try things and take a little risk and get things done, and they learn together. So the team and the partners are as excited as Prism. It's the kind of joyful learning and work that ISSIP lifts up.
Great.
Well, that word right there, Michelle, joyful, I think is key. And I think that, finding new ways to do things, finding new ways to improve things, looking at the future, those are things that make me happy. I don't want to say I always like the the shiny new toy, but I do enjoy moving things forward in a positive way. And so for me, there's joy and happiness in looking forward and figuring out how we're going to continue to grow. One word of advice I'd give anyone, even going back to the mentorship, if what you're doing is not making you happy, find something else. It's a long time and life is short. You don't want it being filled with just work. So if you're not enjoying it and it's not making you happy, you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Thanks, Jeremy. Really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. I'll turn off the recording. Any last words?